Fire, City of Tombstone.
Kay Gale, Greenlee County.
Alan Baker, Town of Clifton.
Akash Kovac, SEAGO.
Pat McCourt, Wilcox, where the wine festival is going on this weekend.
Myra Robertson, Town of Wichita City.
Glenn Nichols Benson, Butterfield Days this weekend with our July 4th fireworks going to be put off on Saturday.
Chuck Patusik, Sierra Vista.
Bonnie Williams, SEAGO.
Cindy Osborne, SEAGO. Julie Packer, SEAGO.
Allison Van Gorp, SEAGO Pathways Program.
Christopher Tree, SEAGO Pathways.
Kathleen Hurd, SEAGO Area Agency on Aging.
Dave Teal, Patagonia Manager, site of the Fall Festival this weekend.
Kevin Adam, Rural Transportation Advocacy Council.
Randy Heiss, SEAGO.
Steve Pauken, Bisbee.
Yolanda Venus, SEAGO.
Okay, thank you all for coming. I understand a quorum is present, so we can proceed with the action items. Item number 2 is member entities discussion. This is an item that we do now in case anybody wants to bring up anything that's in particular that's happening in their community or identify a problem. Perhaps they may want to discuss a local or regional or a statewide basis. So I'm just going to put it out there if anybody wants to speak up. I personally don't have anything this month myself, this quarter. Go ahead, Kate.
You know, since we last met, probably we've had fires. The wildfire, Cochise County had the fires. We're struggling trying to repair roads now because of the monsoons and the damage now because people are getting flooded that would never have been flooded before because of the fire. So more than ever now we need as much of our HERF funds as possible. Even though we've made declarations, we're going through the emergency funding with the state. Our latest round with them, they've agreed to it, but they've made sure that we understand we're funding it and it could be a year or more before we get our money back. So those kinds of struggles with the thousands and thousands of dollars that we've got one road that's going to be probably $750,000 for us, and that's huge right now. So, but that's what we're dealing with today.
Chuck, do you have any particular issues along the same line, or is that all Cochise County?
I think it's all Cochise County, but we don't really have anything related to the fire in terms of additional costs in that respect. But you know, the HERF issue is still, I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger. So I don't know if anybody went to the Douglas Economic Focus launch and saw Curtis courageously get up with a number of legislators in the room and tell them about it. And I think they need to hear about it.
Yeah, further information of the county folks in the room, and anyone who was not at the Arizona League of Cities Conference, a large number of cities and towns signed on to a resolution which was adopted by the Arizona League of Cities and Towns Executive Committee, specifically requesting that HERF funding levels be restored to the level that they were, I want to say, 3 years ago. I think out of the 91 cities and towns in the state of Arizona, I think almost 50 of them signed on. So I think that's a rather strong resolution going back to the state legislature to consider as they begin next spring to determine what they're going to do with the HERF money. My understanding is the gas tax is actually up from the previous year. I don't necessarily believe that state gas tax revenues went down particularly poorly over the past few years, but as we all know, there have been continual sweeps in the gas tax money in order to fund the Department of Public Safety. You know, that's one of those things, I guess, you got to weigh whether you want DPS to be fully funded or whether you want your highways or your local streets to get fixed. I'm sure somewhere in there is some kind of a middle ground that could probably restore some funding. Personally, 2 years ago there were 8 employees in the Bisbee Street Department. Today there are 2. We're trying to pick up the slack of inmate labor however we can. So I think most of you who run cities and towns could probably give similar examples of how the HERF funding has decimated your budgets, and if it wasn't for some other funding mechanisms that are one-time funding mechanisms, we wouldn't be repairing any streets at all. Okay?
Just one more comment on that, you know, the DPS thing, while it may sound good to fund DPS, that would help if you had DPS in your county. We have one officer that lives in the Duncan area, he's been given direction to stay in the Graham County area most of the time. The only time we see them is when they do live loads to the mine. So not only are they not there, and we're paying for them not to be there, but they're also, so our revenue is down in the JP courts because they're not writing tickets in our county.
Right.
So,
Okay.
we're just getting a double whammy there.
Sure. See, just to give you an update on the revenue, it's actually, the gas tax has been fairly stagnant. HERF overall only increased by 1.6% last year, which compared to state revenue sources, income tax, sales tax, it's extremely disappointing. And while the gas tax, there hasn't been a lot of growth, there's been some. What's really been killing HERF is the VLT revenue that gets directed its way. With the economy the way it is, people aren't buying new cars, and it's having a major impact on the VLT, and it is keeping HERF down. But what's really obviously killing the HERF are the rates. 1.4 billion from 2000 to 2010, and then last year it was 240 million just for last year.
We certainly see it in our allocations.
Yes.
There's no question about that. So that's a good clue to turn off your ringers on your phones. Please. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share from their local community at this point? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the action items. Number one is the consent agenda. I don't know if I have to read every one of these down. I'm hoping you look at your packet. If there's anything on a consent that you want to pull, please do. If you don't, I appreciate a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay. George Barnes, second. Okay. Well, no discussion apparently. It's a consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Item 2 are proposed amendments to the SEAGO policy manual. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have the memo. Essentially, we're proposing to amend a number of different areas of our policy manual as a matter of housekeeping and issues that have arisen. The sections specifically are the sections 8.3, 8.5, 10.7, 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7. If you want me to cover these, I will.
I move we approve.
Okay. Pat McCord moves to approve.
Second.
Mel Baker, second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is revised funding level, state fiscal year 11-12. Kathleen Hurd.
On page 26 in your packet, you have my cover memo describing that for the contract year that just started in July, this is the fourth change we've had. And basically we have a social service block grant swap that DES did, whereby they took $5 million of state appropriations and replaced it with federal SSBG. And I actually got in trouble for asking too many questions about whether this is sustainable next year. We have no idea. But that means that state allocations to aging programs in Arizona have been cut by 60% in the last 4 years. So being that, we also got little trickles of increases in Older Americans Act money and then some decreases in the Nutrition Service Incentive money. So I have on page 27 a chart for you that shows what the changes are that we're proposing as compared to what you approved at your May meeting. And you'll see that one of the things I didn't mention is congregate meals, a change of $15,019. And this is because in Douglas, we see such demand for home-delivered meals. that we're actually moving home-delivered meals, increasing home-delivered meals by this amount and taking it away from congregate meals. So if you have any questions, the Advisory Council on Aging has not yet met, and they will be meeting on the 20th. So that is why this item is not on your consent agenda. Can I answer any questions?
Don't see any.
We need a recommendation to the board.
So,
I move.
Okay, Chuck, move.
I'll second.
Patrick, second. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, next is a perennial favorite, the fiscal 12 CDBG method of distribution. Bonnie, could you speak up so we can pick up
Okay.
as best we can?
I'll try.
Thanks.
All right, yes, it's that time of year again to pass the method of distribution. Once again, there's no substantial changes other than updating whose turn it is next. And that would be Douglas, Benson, Tombstone, Wilcox, Thatcher, Duncan, and Santa Cruz County. So those communities will be applying presumably in May. Now, last year that deadline got pushed back and back because we didn't know what the federal government's funding was going to do. But at any rate, we'll see. I recommend, though, that you think about starting the public hearing process and get those 2 hearings out of the way before Christmas, and then you'll have the remainder of the early next year to plan and your potential projects. And keep in mind again that those have been limited. Keep your focus on infrastructure, housing rehabilitation. Other things are lower priorities for the state. And of course, we can no longer do parks and certain other activities. So basically, we just need to have your okay on this, pass it up to the executive board, and we'll hopefully find out the funding levels sooner than we did last year.
So moved.
So moved.